Hey, what is up, fellow Raiders? This is Vulcan Dan, and it's the weekend again, and you know what that means. We have another Shard weekend. This time, it is a times 10 Shard weekend. It is the last of the year, and of course, I'll give you one guess as to what the theme is for for the last times 10 event for the year. It is, of course, a times 10 for the Hydra clan boss. So we will have a lot of champions that will be excellent for the Hydra clan boss, which I know that everyone is struggling with. Everyone is definitely having a very hard time. So this is actually a very good times 10 event if you have some shards to spare. But on top of that times 10 event, we also have a guaranteed champion event for Rector Drath, which is an excellent epic from the Knights Rev. You will need 4 sacred shards, and on your 4th sacred, you will get your Rector Drath. Now, let's take a look at Rector. Why is she excellent for the Hydra clan boss? Is, of course, she has this, she places a veil. She will heal all allies by 20% of her HP on her A2, and after healing will place a perfect veil on all allies for 2 turns with full HP, and then will place a continuous heal for 1 turn instead if you do not have full HP. So if this happens on the first turn, we're assuming that you're still at full HP, then everyone will be at perfect veil. We don't have a lot of champions in this game that places veil or perfect veil on your entire team. Of course, a very popular legendary champion that we have is Duchess, but of course not everyone has a Duchess. So Rector Drath is actually a very good option as an epic champion on to place perfect veil on your entire team. She also has a revive, a very great a great single target revive, and also places a perfect veil on them for 3 turns. And whenever an ally is under veil or perfect veil, whenever they get a turn, they will Rector Drath will heal them for 10% of their HP, which is great, of course, and will also increase their resistance of all allies under veil or perfect veil by 50. So again, this champion is excellent for the Hydra clan boss, and she also has a decreased attack on her A1. So you might want to consider, if you have some sacred shards to spare, you might want to get Rector Drath for your own team in case you don't have her yet. But just remember that we are expecting a ×2 sacred shard next week. So the week after this weekend, we are expecting a ×2 sacred. So if you have a few sacreds to share, it might be a good idea, but don't forget to save some for next week's ×2 sacred. All right, so let's get to the ×10 champion. Let's go to the epics first. First one is Oboro from the Shadowkin. Now, she's excellent because, well, her entire kit actually works very well for the Hydra clan boss. Before this feature came out, we didn't really pay much attention to Oboro, or at least I didn't pay too much attention to her. But her A1 will place a decreased defense on one enemy, but if there are 4 debuffs, she will attack all enemies instead. So this can be an AoE decreased defense, which is of course great for the Hydra clan boss. Her A2 is a double hitter that will transfer all debuffs from this champion to the target, and will also steal the buffs from the target when attacking under veil or perfect veil. So of course pairs well with someone like a Duchess, a Rector Drath, but she can also place veil on herself with her A3 on top of increased crit rate and increased crit damage. And she will place a perfect veil on herself if the attack is critical. So of course you would want to build her with high crit damage. She does hit hard, and her passive places a revive on death on her. So you can just build her purely, a lot of damage, and then she will place a revive on death on herself for 3 turns whenever they receive a veil or perfect veil. So this one can be booked to a 3-turn cooldown. So this revive on death can be on her every single time, or at least she can revive herself once every 3 turns. So as long as she doesn't die too often, then I think she will be a great addition to your clan boss team. Yeah, so Oboro right here, I think will be a great. Although she is an epic, I mean, she's a void epic, so she is a little bit. She's going to be more difficult to get during this times 10 event because of her being a void, but still a great option for the Hydra clan boss. Now, next one is, where's the champion? There you go. Doom Priest. Of course, everyone knows who this girl is because of her passive will heal all allies by 7.5% of their HP and remove one random debuff at the start of this champion's turn. So her other skills aren't really that impressive. This increased attack can of course be very useful, but it's really all about her passive, which gives that heal and the debuff removal every single turn. So Doom Priest, a very good champion to have for the Hydra clan boss. Next one, we have Hugo. Where is Hugo? There you go. Hugo is great for the Hydra clan boss because of her A2. She brings a decreased defense and a block buffs. Now you really need block buffs for the Hydra clan boss. I was playing around with a few teams, and if you don't bring someone who can either strip buffs or bring a block buffs, you will have a very hard time because you want the Hydra heads to have as little buffs as possible while placing as many debuffs on them as possible, because the moment that you don't stop them from having the buffs, then you will have a very hard time. And of course, Hugo also has this debuff removal and heals, which is great. And yeah, also has this clutch heal in case she is the only one alive in the team. Also has a leech on her A1. So Hugo, very useful for that block buffs. And the last one is we have Thailessia here, which is one of the newer epics. She places an AoE decreased defense on a 3-turn cooldown, another AoE on her A2 that increases the debuffs, the duration of debuffs on all enemies by 1 turn, which is great. And when attacking enemies under decreased defense, has a 50% chance of placing a hex. And her A1 will apply a debuff spread if the target is under hex. Now, this can be a very good skill because maybe you have a single target decrease speed, single target decrease attack. This girl will spread that to the entire party, the other 3 Hydra heads, if they are under hex, and she brings hex in her passive. So all of these epics are actually quite good if you have the shards to spare this weekend. All right, so those are the 4 epics. Let's get to the legendaries. Let's introduce the Void legendary first, which is Tohanarack. Very similar to Doom Priest with the debuff removal in her passive at the start of each turn. Now, it doesn't have the 7.5% HP heal, but she brings the heal with her A1 on top of a decreased speed. And again, remember how I talked about block boss being so important for the Hydra clan boss? She brings that on top of a decreased attack on her A2, although this is a single target, but she will also apply a debuff spread, but it will spread 2 random debuffs to the entire enemy team. So perhaps there's a block buff, there's a decreased attack, but there can also be a decreased speed, decreased defense. As long as there are debuffs on the enemy, she will take 2 of them and spread it to the rest. And her A3 is excellent because this places an increased defense and increased speed on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. So if you're lucky to have her, she's a Void legendary, so of course she's very difficult to get, but if you have her, you have to put her in your Hydra clan boss team. All right, let's get to the other non-void legendaries. And one of the fusion and one of the best champions of 2021 is Under Priest Brogni. Of course, if you got him from the fusion, congratulations. But if not, he's excellent. Yeah, that's all I could say. he has this let's talk about his A3 first. He has a block, debuffs, and an increased attack and shield. Yes, 3 great buffs for the Hydra clan boss. And his A2 removes 1 random buff, so it's not really a block buff, but still this is excellent, and will also remove 1 random debuff from all allies and will increase your shields. All right, so both A1 and A2 is great. A1 here is an HP burn, so it's A2 and A3 are excellent for the Hydra clan boss. And on top of that, if your entire team is under a shield and then you get hit, it will reflect damage back to the enemies. Of course, in the Hydra clan boss, it's all about how much damage can you deal to the Hydra clan boss. And this one, of course, this passive right here can really help ramp up that damage. Next one, let's talk about a champion that doesn't really get talked about a lot, but I think is very useful here in this new Hydra clan boss, and that is Sylvari Katan. He doesn't hit hard even though he is an attack type champion, but A1, A2, and A3 are all AoE hits. So really, he's all about bringing the debuffs on all of the Hydra heads, decrease speed on his A1, decrease defense if the weaken is not placed. So it's either a weaken or a decreased defense on his A2, and removes shield block damage and unkillable, and then attacks them. So this is an AoE attack, places a heal reduction, and this one cannot be blocked or resisted. So all 3 are AoE hits, and places a bunch of nasty debuffs. So you would want to build him with high accuracy, and he is excellent for the Hydra clan boss. And lastly is Mashalid, which is also excellent because he will buff he will buff your entire team with his A2, and then place a leech on all the Hydra heads as well in the same move, and then grant an extra turn. But if you're manualing this, do not go straight into his A3 at the beginning of the fight. Instead, go to his A2 to his A1 first, because his A1 will attack 1 enemy, but then will attack all other enemies that are under leech, which of course is placed by his A2, because of course the A3 will steal buffs, place a heal reduction, places continuous heal for this on this champion for 3 turns, but you don't really need this on the first turn. So just a tip, if you're using Mashalid, A2 first, and then manual him into using A1 right after. And then A3, you can wait until one of your one of the Hydra heads places a buff, and you can steal that with this A3. And one other tip with Mashalid, because the Hydra clan boss has this passive wherein they will reduce AoE damage that they get, but this A1, when he attacks enemies under leech, that does not count as an AoE hit, even though that may look like one, but those count as single target hits. So yeah, so this one is great. It hits very hard, especially if you build him with high crit rate, crit damage, and attack. Mashalid, definitely a great champion for the Hydra clan boss. So all champions here on this ×10 weekend are excellent, are great. So normally we don't like pulling shards on a ×10 event, but if you're missing one of these champions, like if you're still not doing a lot of damage with your second key or third key, or maybe just even your first key, then you may want to consider pulling some shards, not all, because of course you want to save your shards for those ×2 weekends, and we still don't know what the January fusion will be, but we're expecting it, of course, to involve pulling shards. But if you have some shards to spare, then maybe this is a good time to do it. And yeah, it's the end of 2021. Let's start 2022 with a bunch of cool new champions to play around with. All right, that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this useful, and I'll see you guys in my next video.